What up, y'all? DCFAYGOGUY. Today we are going to be reviewing Klokwerk E's brand new album, Anubis. This dropped back on Juggalo Day, February 17th. And this album is, holy shit, a huge left turn from their previous album, The Emerald Tablets. This album is straight up fucking wicked shit. I went into this not really knowing fully what to expect. I knew that they were saying pretty quickly about this album that it was going to be them dipping more into like the wicked shit / horrorcore. They were going to go darker, and boy did they fucking do just that. The artwork, very reminiscent to a Joker card. This album definitely feels, there's so much inspiration throughout this album that just feels connected and pieced to ICP. I know there are pieces and connections to Isham as well, but I'm not the biggest Isham fan. So those connections I can't point out, but I can point out a lot of the ICP ones. And this to me feels very much, whether they intended it to be or not, kind of an homage to ICP and fucking old school wicked shit. They went dark on a lot of tracks. They went, the beats are great. There's some sampling in there that really makes me feel like old school wicked shit vibes. Klokwerk absolutely knocked this fucking album out of the park. Much longer than the Emerald Tablets. If you guys haven't seen my review for that, I had said in there that it felt like it was themed as like a full LP, but felt more like an EP. You know, there were 2 songs on that album that I didn't particularly, it's not that I didn't care for them. I felt like they just didn't really fit the vibe of that album. And honestly, if they would have landed on Anubis, I feel like they would fit a little bit better here. The album starts off very dark. It gets kind of silly and goofy in the middle, and then it ends off again getting dark. So this, like I said, this to me, they're definitely showing some of their inspirations in this album. It is a total of 16 tracks. There are technically like 3, I'm just going to say 3 skits in this album. You got Intergalactic Radio Part 2, you've got Chewing, and you've got The Dog. The Dog and Chewing is like, and they were talking about in the Deck One Dealt Discord server about like where that came from. It's like, there's like, I've literally only listened to the one time. Like, when it comes to these 3 songs, these 3 kind of skits, they're the only thing on this album that I skip. The Intergalactic Radio, it's kind of like the same reason as the first one on Emerald Tablets. Like, it was fun and funny the first time I listened to it. And then every time I listen to it now, it's like, I just want to get back to the music. And I feel like they did such a great fucking job with the music. But they also, to me, kind of serve like checkpoints for the album as well. Because it's after Intergalactic Radio that you switch to more of kind of the goofier side of things with You Got a Nice Ass, Catfish, Timu Sex Toy, and Dirty Dirtbag. Chewing comes after 10 Plagues. I feel like if it came before 10 Plagues, that would be another good segue where you go back from the silly goofy back into kind of the dark wicked shit. And then of course The Dog is just the ending. And The Dog is literally, it was kind of a similar thing they did with Emerald Tablets where you got to call and like leave a message about like your dog passing away, which it's very interesting, and I feel like I remember seeing it somewhere, but back in December, Megs and I actually lost our dog. We had to put her to sleep. She was 14 and a half years old. Like, literally, when me and Megs first met, you know, she had our dog Ming as a puppy. So, like, our whole relationship, we've had that dog. So, she was like our fur baby. So, you know, it was definitely like a nice, touching. There were people that were definitely, they left messages they weren't like totally serious about it, but then there were some that were serious. So, you know, it was a fun little listen the first time I listened to it, and I haven't listened to it since then. I feel like the album ends pretty well with Take What's Mine. So real quick, I do want to jump in and go over the track list. I am not going to play you all of the songs. I'm just going to play you my top 5 tracks on this. It's a lengthy boy. Like I said, 16 tracks, clocks in at 52 minutes. So let's go over the tracks real quick. It is Anubis, Walk with the Dead, Put a Spell on You, Suicidal Fun, Intergalactic Radio Part 2, You Got a Nice Ass, Catfish, Timu Sex Toy, Dirty Dirtbag, 10 Plagues, Chewing, Night of the Living Meth Heads, Everything's Dead, Help Me Hide a Body, Take What's Mine, and The Dog. So, again, lengthy boy. And again, Klokwerk just they fucking went there with this album. So many, like, it's really hard for me to pick out a top 5 because there's so many great tracks on here that I like. I could probably have an easier time telling you ones that I wasn't a huge fan of, but even then it's like there's so much going on this album that it's really fucking great. So fuck, like I said, I don't even know what to give you as my top 5. I went into this not knowing what I was going to say as my top 5. So now as I sit here and look at the track list, it's like, what do I put in the top 5? I know I can say with certainty, Dirty Dirtbag is definitely a top track for me.
I'm a dirty dirtbag, I'm a dirty dish rag, I'm a dirty and burning, infected, open wound scab. I'm as dirty as a piss, I'm as dirty as it gets, I'm as dirty as the herpes crust and blister on your lip. I got a cum sock chilling on the floor of my room. I call it Lisa when I need her, I just beat up the boom. That's some jingle when I stink up, you get high from the fumes, and I don't need to wash or clean up, I just spray some perfume.
I absolutely love the fucking beat. I love the flow. I love the whole essence of the song, the whole vibe. It very much feels like it makes me think of Blaze Your Dead Homies' Nasty, and how like that whole song is just him talking about how he's nasty, and this is them just talking about how they're a dirty dirtbag, you know, all the crazy nasty shit of like having skid marks, fucking sucking sweat off of pubes. Like this is a song that makes me cringe quite a bit. It features Brandon Buckingham, which that was a very interesting surprise. Had no idea that he could even rap like that. And honestly, the first time I listened to it, I was kind of like, he didn't do great, but he didn't do bad. But I'm also somebody who can't rap myself, so I'm nobody to judge. The more that I've listened to Brandon's verse, the more that it's grown on me. It's just, I think that Billy and fucking Kyle absolutely killed it on their verses, that I don't think he was really able to kind of hold a candle, and I think that that's a lot of what it is. I feel like if they didn't have Brandon on there, it would be an absolutely flawless song. But even having Brandon on there, it still, to me, is such a flawless song. It's one of those songs where I will listen to it and then just kind of go around work with it in my head. It's like, I'm a dirty dirt bag, dirty dish rag. You know, it's just kind of one of those, it's a vibe. It's something that just gives you a vibe. It puts you into a vibey kind of mood. I would say definitely another top track has to be Catfish featuring SON.
Your butthole in my mouth, but first I gotta know right now, is you a catfish? Oh, is you a fat fish? I'm just looking through a screen, I tell them that my name is Stacy. Hi, it's nice to meet you. Wanna fuck me, maybe date me? You can come right to my house and you won't ever leave again. And I can have 3 dicks at once if I just wear your silver skin.
Yeah, absolutely great hook, catchy. I love the role that SON played on this, because I was kind of curious going into this. It was a song where it was like, okay, we're gonna get 3 different tales of people being catfished. No. It's Billy and Kyle both talking to the same girl who just so happens to be SON. He's Mr. Pancake. He's disguising himself as Brittany, luring them in so that, you know, he can very Silence of the Lambs, puts the lotion on your skin kind of thing. And there's a really funny skit at the end. And this, for me, that skit was definitely like, it gave me a lot of similar old school vibes with ICP as well. Hearing SON, shut the fuck up, you know, made me think of that skit at the end of Toy Box from Riddlebox. They just did a really good job. I feel like SON was perfect for that fucking song right there. I had seen somewhere or heard somewhere that I think originally Flapjack Wilson was supposed to do that part, but SON just fucking filled that role so fucking well. Absolutely great track there. It's so hard to absolutely pick like a top 5. I'm going to say, I want to put Everything's Dead as well in there.
Woke up in my mama dead, purple, yellow, bluish head, OD'd off prescription meds, a puking, pooping, pissing mess. Tried to give a CPR, but broke one of her ribs instead. Ain't no way this shit is real, gotta be all in my head. I thought, fuck it, I ain't even called the cops or nothing.
Has a very dark theme to it. Honestly, the first verse really makes me think of like Prom Queen. It's very interesting hearing some of the different vibes that it gives you. There's some samples in there too that I feel like came from the same record. Gong, I think it was. There was another one that I know I've seen Mushy Mustard talk about, where ICP had sampled. It's like a horror sound or it's like Halloween sound record that they had pulled some samples for. I feel like there's some samples in Everything's Dead that came from that as well. So that's definitely, I'm going to definitely say that Everything's Dead is a top 5 track. And, this is tough. 10 Plagues, I think, is a really good one as well. Gives me Dark Lotus vibes.
Plagues. The waters turn red, the bugs they eat flesh, your sons they meet death. Plagues. The darkness has set, the gods are upset, your life is up next. Thick clouds of frogs they rain down, the hound it barks loud, the sound it breaks ground, diseases break out, the kings they bow down, the flames they clean town, in pain they scream out.
Just in talking about the different plagues, they went dark with that one. And my number 5, I'm just gonna give it to Anubis.
Watch your step, dog, about to make a mess, dog. I bring the death, dog. I come through and wreck y'all. I'm a dark shackle, I spark and bark at you. I carve a large statue of gods with bronze attached to their nips. With long tassels, I flip the crypt open and
It set such a really good tone. The intro talking about who Anubis is. You hear the dog barking. You hear fucking Kyle and Billy come in on like a trap style beat. And when I listened to this track, Anubis, actually made me go back and give... I haven't even listened to it, but I went back and I gave Garden a chance from Darby O'Trill. For me, it told me what it is about that style of music that I'm not able to enjoy. Is I can enjoy a couple songs that are in that style, but to listen to an album where every song is them rapping like that over a beat like that, that's where it's kind of like, for my attention span, it's like I want something different. So Anubis was definitely a song that when I listen to it, it makes me feel like I can get into kind of trap style songs, but I just can't have a full album of it. I made that conclusion thanks to Anubis. So I think that's my 5 tracks. And I'm just straight up going to give my top track to Dirty Dirtbag. It's such a great fucking song. So vibey, so great. One thing that I did want to talk about with a couple other songs, Timu's Sex Toy was one of those songs that when I first listened to it the first couple times, I was like, I felt like I was kind of done with that track. But then the more that I've revisited it, the more I'm like, I really like this song. And what I like, one of the things that I like about it is both Billy and Kyle, they play different roles, right? So I was going into that song fully expecting them both to talk about how they got a sex toy off of Timu and they both were mutilated by it. No, just Kyle was mutilated, and then Billy plays the role of like a police officer coming to the scene because, you know, he called 911 about it. So their verses actually go together where they're on different sides of the story. And I actually really enjoyed that. I felt like that was very unique and different to do it like that instead of, you know, them both getting a sex toy differently and being mutilated by it. I was very pleased by that track. Help Me Hide a Body was another one that I felt was really fun, and it gave me some callback vibes to I Didn't Mean to Kill Him off of Forgotten Freshness. That's another track that I absolutely fucking love. Very similar vibes in that way. And then I do want to talk about this because I know the homie Robbie from Do It For The Underground dropped a review, and in his review, his isn't a video review, it's like a typed up one, kind of old school Faygo Lover style. And in it, he kind of brought up conversations that were being had about Take What's Mine. And I was somebody who had brought up the conversation about, like, I like the song Take What's Mine. But my very first listen, the very first time I got to the part where it was talking, just straight up mentions the word, I immediately was like, ooh, this song just got dark. It went there very quickly. The more that I've listened to it and the more that we had conversations, there were different people that we were talking to about. And, you know, when it comes to like wicked shit and horrorcore, there's songs out there about having sex with dead bodies. And whether you look at it this way or not, that's still right. I probably shouldn't mention that word. They're still forcefully doing things to this body, even though it's like not alive anymore. There's several songs that fit in that. I mean, Kung Fu Vampire has 2 tracks about it. Dead Girls Don't Say No. So it's kind of like, where's the line of it being acceptable whether they're alive or dead? And then really just the more that I feel like that's kind of like where we rationalize it with certain songs. But then straight up just them mentioning the R word instead of saying, I take what's mine and fuck this hoe. Like, I guess in my own head, I immediately was just like, there's another 4-letter word that they could have used and it would have glossed right over my ears just fine. I wouldn't have even batted an eye at it. I think that's just such a touchy word. I've talked about this in the past. I Like It Rough off of Fearless Fred Fury just doesn't exist to me. Like, I completely deleted it off of my iTunes. That song doesn't exist to me. The album ends on Freedom for me because it's just something I'm not into. I'm not, like, I don't get into rough sex. Like, if sex gets too rough, it kind of turns me off because then it's like, at what point is this, like, I get in my own head of like, this doesn't feel right. So like, that's just how so against it I am. So I guess the more that I've listened to Take What's Mine, I listen to the chorus and what they're saying. I stab this hoe and stab some mo, remove her clothes. You know what I mean? Like, he stabs her first. So I think in my own head, I've rationalized that he has definitely killed her and is now going to do things to the body. So, you know, it was one of those songs that was really hard to get into. And it really, again, it was just literally that word. Because, you know, it's such a controversial thing that it just really threw me for a loop the first time I heard it. The beat goes really hard. They both did really great. And the thing about this with that, for anybody who's heard it and was absolutely disgusted, the thing you've got to remember is, just like with ICP, a lot of the songs that they make about that, it's them more or less storytelling. That's not them in the perspective of themselves. They're in the perspective of someone doing this. And that's kind of like the horror-esque horror movie thing. You know, you watch a slasher movie, obviously, like, that's not real. It's just a story about a killer. You know what I mean? Like, the actor who plays the killer is not actually a killer. They're playing a killer. And that's kind of what they're doing in these songs. They're playing a role of that, telling a story of someone doing that. So that's kind of where I've gone with that song. And yeah, it doesn't bother me like it did. I still cringe at it because it's like, ugh. But I've gotten to a point where it doesn't affect me quite as much. So yeah, absolutely love Anubis. I think Anubis is a really great album. Again, they went to some really great, they went really great with doing some wicked shit, and with a lot of the track, like just about almost every track that I listen to, I can like make this connection. Like, this feels like an old school song of this feels like this, you know what I mean? Like, I'm instantly just going back and like, you can feel a lot of the inspiration that they took from this. And in fact, in the fucking track, I think it was Suicidal Fun, you hear, I think it was Billy's verse where he says, acid rap and wicked shit turn me to a monster. So like right there, they're straight up saying like, wicked shit, ICP, you know, Old School Psychopathic Records, and fucking Esham turned me into a monster. I was inspired by that shit, and this is what I am now because of that shit. So it definitely, you feel it, I feel like, throughout this album. So I absolutely fucking love Anubis, and I absolutely love the way that it has dropped, the timing of it. We had Anubis, we got fucking Love from Low Key, which is fucking horrorcore, and now we're getting The Bastard Son, which is going to be fucking killer. And I feel like Anubis just fits perfectly right in where it fell. That this year's already got some great fucking music, and we're just in the first quarter. So if you have listened to Anubis, tell me down below what you guys think about Anubis. If you didn't care for it, you can tell me what you didn't like about it. Remember to always be respectful. I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.